Chapter 1374. Gu Mingming took 2 deep breaths to calm herself down. She looked at Leah, waiting for him to continue his analysis. Leah played with Gu Mingming's fingers as he said, nonchalantly, Qi Xian must have found out about this through some means, so he set up a trap. It's just that Qi Xuan's trap has not been fully developed, so I don't know what his exact plans are. Based on the current information, I can only deduce that he wants to use the 1-month gap between Cole waiting for you and Sauter to do something, and I feel that Gregory's return during winter to guard Sauter should have something to do with Qi Xian. Gu Mingming held her head and shook her head, saying, Do you think Qi Xian has entered the rebellious phase? How dare he tie his legs to the gas tank? Leah hugged Gu Mingming and comforted her softly. Don't worry too much. Thinking about how Qi Xian could use the soul of the forest to bewitch Cole and lure him to Sauter for a month, you can tell that this child is not simple. If he has any ulterior motives, even I will fall into his trap. Moreover, Jiaoyu is working with him at the side. Just like what you said, when the brothers are of one heart, their strength can cut through metal. The worst outcome would be them falling into Cole's hands, but Cole would not dare to kill them. Gu Mingming sighed and said, We can only wait now. Cole promised to return the 3 brothers to me after winter ends. If he dares to go back on his words, Leah knew that Gu Mingming could not say kill him. It was not that she could not bear to part with Cole, but she could not bear to part with Qi Xian. Leah chuckled and said, I am more interested in the 10 greatest tortures of the Qing dynasty you mentioned just now. Why don't you tell me about it? Let me see if there are any that can be modified to be used on Cole. Gu Mingming was worried about her 3 sons and was filled with resentment towards Cole. Hence, she described the 10 greatest tortures of the Qing dynasty vividly through gritted teeth. Miranda, who was standing at the side, was so shocked that her eyes almost popped out. She did not dare to make a sound, even though her wrist was in excruciating pain. Miranda started to feel terrified for the first time when she saw Leah, whom she thought was perfect, cooperating with Gu Mingming's words with a smile and even looking eager to try. The perfect male in her heart was far more sinister and vicious than the old man who had imprisoned her. Those torturing methods that she had never seen or heard of before, she could imagine the scene just by listening. No wonder Leah did not savor at that time. Compared to what Gu Mingming was saying, her days as a prisoner were too blissful. That night, Gregory returned to the stone castle with 2 bags of Xueling fruits. As Gu Mingming ate the Xueling fruits, she asked Gregory if he had said anything to Qi Xian in private before winter. Gregory thought that Gu Mingming was asking about Cole and did not dare to beat around the bush. He directly told Gu Mingming that Qi Xian had told him about Burke and that protecting her silently was also a form of love. Even if he could not get anything in return, he could at least do something for her. It was better than waiting day after day in vain and wasting his life waiting for a miracle that would never happen. Gu Mingming and Leah exchanged glances and thought to themselves that it was indeed Qi Xuan's doing for Gregory to guard Sauter during winter. This son really could not be underestimated. Chapter 1375. Unexpectedly, Miranda did not pester Leah anymore. Instead, she eagerly expressed her willingness to go to Moda Mountains without waiting for winter to end. She said that she was a snow fox and could endure a few days' journey. Although Gu Mingming did not know that she had frightened Miranda with her vivid description of the 10 greatest tortures of the Qing dynasty because she was venting her hatred towards Cole, Gu Mingming was glad that Miranda did not pester Leah anymore. Hence, she took an empty wine barrel and even kindly covered it with a few layers of bee skin. She let Miranda crawl into the wine barrel, and Gregory carried her back to Moda Mountains. Gu Mingming looked at Miranda, who was standing in the wine barrel with a face full of anxiety. She sighed and said, No matter how capable Cole is, he cannot fly to the sky. So you're relatively free and safe on Moda Mountains. Although the weather there is rather bad, as long as you treat your partners well, they will not let you suffer. But there is one thing you must remember. The birds are the most loyal followers of the beast deity. If you dare to create any trouble on Moda Mountains, I will not let you off. Miranda was already scared out of her wits by Gu Mingming. She shook her head and said, I will definitely live a peaceful life on Moda Mountains. I will not leave the mountains until I die. Great messenger, please don't worry. Gu Mingming nodded and said, That's for the best. Miranda nodded vigorously and said, I will listen to you obediently. I will definitely listen to you. Gu Mingming glanced at Miranda's broken wrist and said, Don't blame me for being ruthless, but I really don't like others touching my mails. Miranda instinctively put her hands behind her back and nodded obediently. I know. Great Messenger has already shown me mercy and is exceptionally merciful. That's right. She didn't even use any moves like grooming, cooking, skinning, carving, or death by 1,000 cuts to deal with her. She only stepped on her wrist, and that was already very merciful. Gu Mingming did not understand Miranda's sudden gratitude, but she did not have the time to find out. She just watched as Gregory left. Winter passed quietly as Gu Mingming looked forward to it day after day. When the snow sealing the windows finally shattered, Gu Mingming's heart finally brightened up. Elvis carried Gu Mingming out of the stone castle and headed straight for the deity altar. There was a chair on the altar, which was Gu Mingming's exclusive seat. It symbolized her divine authority and could not be violated. This was the first hunt after winter since Elvis became the Wolf King. No matter what, he could not be careless. So even though Gu Mingming was concerned about the children, she did not show it on her face. She just followed the rules and looked at the females in the tribe one by one, asking them how many cubs they had this winter. In the end, Lacey from the Snow Fox tribe gave birth to 9 cubs and became the female with the most cubs for 2 consecutive years. Gu Mingming conferred the title of the first beauty of the tribe. Although there were many females in the Sauter tribe now, they were all sincerely convinced by this result. After all, who could be blamed if your stomach was not as good as hers? During the night campfire party, the 16 tribes came out on top. During the small rainy season, the Wolf tribe came out on top. Now that Lacey relied on her stomach to fight for the Snow Fox tribe, the 3 parties were now in a one-on-one situation. So, the next round of hunting undoubtedly became a competition. Chapter 1376. The female sat around the deity altar as usual, while Leah stayed by Gu Mingming's side, gentle and focused, as if he could not see anything else other than Gu Mingming. Sauter was different from Saint Nazir. Other than the witch doctor, there was no need to hunt here. The elders also did not participate in the first hunt, partly because they were old, and partly because they were proud of their nobility, unwilling to do those barbaric jobs. So, the elders stood on the first level, closest to Gu Mingming. He looked up at Leah, as if he had something to say, but did not dare to. Thinking about it, Gu Mingming's display of power over Miranda last year was enough, so they did not dare to spout nonsense in front of Gu Mingming now. Elder Eugene, why do you keep looking at my Leah like that? Gu Mingming expressed her displeasure. If he had something to say, he might as well say it directly. At least she could retort if he said it directly. He kept glancing at her, as if she owed him money and he did not dare to ask for it. How annoying. Elder Eugene cleared his throat and said, The first hunt concerns the offerings offered to the beast deity. It is an important ceremony for Sauter to express its loyalty to the beast deity, so I think that the Ninth Highness should participate in the hunt. With the Ninth Highness around, the Snow Fox clan will definitely be motivated and perform better. Oh. Gu Mingming chuckled and interrupted Eugene's words. She looked at him coldly and said, You are afraid that Elvis will lead the Wolf clan in the first hunt again, so you want to use Leah as a mascot to boost morale, so that the Snow Fox clan can compete with the Wolf clan, right? Elder Eugene's face froze. He felt a little guilty after his thoughts were exposed. After all, he had already offended Gu Mingming once because of Miranda. If it was not necessary, he really did not want to have a conflict with Gu Mingming. But helplessly, his name was called out. However, Elder Eugene did not know that Gu Mingming only knew the faces of the elders, but could not remember most of their names. This Elder Eugene's performance was too outstanding during the Miranda incident, so she remembered his name. So all the elders were looking at Leah, but Gu Mingming only called out his name. Gu Mingming sneered and leaned lazily into Lee's arms, saying, But doesn't your fox clan have a beast king? If you want to raise our morale, why don't you go look for your beast king? Ever since I came to Sauter, didn't all of you just follow your beast king's instructions and brush me off? Don't tell me you can't find him now. When the elders heard this, their faces immediately turned green. They had already confirmed that the Fox clan had a beast king during the winter, but it was hard to tell whether the beast king was happy or angry. He had always been going against the messenger of the beast deity, but he did not allow others to betray her or defy her. He would kill anyone who angered her. This made the group of elders very helpless, and they did not know what to do to comply with the Beast King's wishes. Now that Gu Mingming mentioned this matter, she must be angry, right? If she were to get angry, the wrath of the Beast King might descend upon them. Thinking of this, the few old fellows trembled as they lowered their bodies and knelt together. The females of the Snow Fox clan were just as afraid as the elders. Their faces were pale, and they lowered their heads guiltily. Their fingertips and hair were trembling slightly. Chapter 1377. Previously in Saint Nazaire, she had impregnated Maya, but Gu Mingming had immediately noticed that there was something wrong with Maya's body scent. Moreover, Saint Nazaire only had Leah as a snow fox. Once Maya gave birth, Gu Mingming would immediately notice that something was wrong. But Sauter was different. There were only snow foxes here, and the purity of the fox seductive fragrance was so high when they were in heat. Gu Mingming could not smell anything from the females, and it would be normal for them to give birth to snow foxes in the future. Gu Mingming could not tell which child was Cole's. Damn it, what was Cole trying to do? Gu Mingming's brain worked furiously, but her face remained expressionless. She just smiled faintly. Don't panic, don't be afraid. Although I am the messenger of the beast deity, I do not have the right to stop you from following your beast king. Following the beast king is the innate nature of the beasts. I will not do something so inhumane and force you to not get close to Cole. It's just that I can't be fickle, eating from the boss's grain and sleeping in the west bed. Listening to Cole's arrangements, you want to make use of my man to help you gain face. You guys have taken all the advantages in this world. You can't be so greedy. You will be punished by the heavens. Gu is right. A familiar voice came from the crowd. Gu Mingming looked over and saw Cole returning with Qi Xian, Kanwu, and Jiaoyu. The four of them were in a strange state. They did not seem to be at each other's throats. Instead, they looked like an elder who had just returned from an outing with his 3 children. Gu Mingming instinctively sat up straight, her gaze fixed on her 3 sons. Only after confirming that they were not injured or crippled did the suffocating feeling in her chest dissipate. Greetings to the mighty Beast King. The elders of the Snow Fox clan were already kneeling on the ground. Now, even the females were kneeling down, paying their respects to Cole. Cole ignored them. He just stood in front of the deity altar and made a gesture of invitation. Young master, please return to your mother's side. Don't let her worry. Qi Xian and his brothers also ignored Cole. They just leaped onto the deity altar and walked to Gu Mingming's side. They held her hands. Mother, we are back. Gu Mingming had a stomach full of questions, but did not say a single word. She just nodded and smiled. Cole turned around and directly knelt in front of everyone. He bowed to Gu Mingming and said, Your subordinate Cole leads the Snow Fox clan to pay his respects to the great messenger. Gu Mingming glanced sideways, wondering what Cole was up to again. Qi Xian patted Gu Mingming's arm, gesturing with his eyes for her to accept Cole's worship. Gu Mingming did not understand and turned to look at Leah. Leah gave Gu Mingming a smiling look, indicating for her to trust Qi Xian. Hence, Gu Mingming unwillingly replied, Yeah. Qi Xian then shook Gu Mingming's arm in a coquettish manner, as if he was begging Gu Mingming to put up a good front. Gu Mingming sighed and pulled the corners of her lips into a smile. Great Fox King, please get up. Chapter 1378. We will obey Lord Beast King's orders. The Snow Fox clan is loyal to Lord Messenger. Heaven and earth can testify. The continuous shouts of O's were quite inspiring, as if everyone knew something. Only Gu Mingming, who was being pledged loyalty to, was dumbfounded, not knowing what was happening. Lord Fox King, since the elders of the Snow Fox clan are so concerned about this first hunt, why don't you join the fun and see if you can boost their morale and defeat our wolf clan? Qi Xin stood beside Gu Mingming, smiling like an innocent child, but his words made the few old foxes from the Snow Fox clan turn green. No, no, the old foxes objected one after another. What kind of joke was this? Elvis and the rest had already walked for half a day, and the distance between them had already widened. The two Beast Kings were equally powerful, but the Snow Fox clan was not as powerful as the Wolf clan, so it was impossible for them to overtake the Wolf clan. If they let Cole go now and the Wolf clan won, wouldn't that mean that the Snow Fox clan was not a match for the Wolf clan? Even with the Beast King, they still lost. In the future, they would definitely be suppressed by the wolves. They had to design a situation where they could win for sure before sending the Beast King up. They definitely could not let Cole lose to Elvis in his first battle. Qi Xin blinked his eyes and tilted his head in confusion. Didn't you just say to let my daddy Leah raise the morale? How could a mere Ninth Highness be as inspiring as a Beast King? I'm doing this for your own good. Why don't you agree? The elders were speechless. He couldn't possibly say that pushing Leah out to raise the morale of the people was just a pretense, and that the real motive was to push all the blame to him when they lost, right? It would be best if he could intensify the family conflict between Leah and Elvis, causing Leah to be dissatisfied with Elvis. This way, he would be more reliant on the power of the Snow Fox clan and recognize his own identity. He would not put his family first in everything, but place the emphasis on his race first, because only when his race was strong could he have a dominant position in his family. Moreover, he had to make Leah unhappy with Elvis first, so that he could incite him to plot something in the future to get rid of Elvis and replace him. The first partner of a messenger of the beast deity should have been from the Snow Fox clan. This was his true motive, but he couldn't say it out loud. The elders looked at each other, speechless. Qi Xin looked at Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming placed one hand on the back of the chair and rested her chin on her palm. She looked at Qi Xin and said, "Since the Fox King is here, wouldn't it be a waste if we don't show off our skills? Although the werewolves have set off for a while now, they definitely have the advantage in terms of the overall number of prey. It would be unfair to let you join now." That's right, the elder said. Gu Mingming glanced at him from the corner of her eyes, and he immediately kept quiet, not daring to say another word. Gu Mingming then continued, "For the sake of fairness, let's not compete for the most this year, but the biggest? In the end, the person who provides the sacrifice to the beast deity will be the winner. Isn't this fair?" Cole placed his right hand on his left chest and bowed towards Gu Mingming like a European knight swearing his loyalty. Then he smiled and said, "I don't care if it's fair or not. As long as it's something that Master wants me to do, I will do it. Lord, your beast yin yang is the hunt. This as is your hunting beastly, is Wu. I beast." Chapter 1379. Your subordinate will obey. Cole bowed and turned to leave, heading towards the direction where the males had set off for the hunt. The elders were so anxious that they looked at Leah and asked, "Your Ninth Highness this?" Leah waved his tail and said, "Since the mighty Fox King is here, how can I, a mere Ninth Highness, be in charge of the tribe's matters? All the elders can just follow the Fox King." Sigh. The elders paced around and finally whispered to each other before following Cole's footsteps towards the direction of the hunt. Gu Mingming yawned and said, "There will not be any results until nighttime. Females, go back to your own homes, and the results will naturally be revealed during the night campfire party." Yes, none of the females dared to act rashly in front of Gu Mingming and naturally followed whatever she said. Leah carried Gu Mingming back to the stone castle, and the three little ones exchanged glances before following behind him obediently. The moment they entered the house, Gu Mingming immediately turned around and placed her hands on her hips, activating the mode of facing your mother when you fail to advance in the examinations. Seeing this, Jiaoyu gave Camu a push, and he immediately knelt down without a word. Pinching his ears with both hands, he said, "Mother, I know I was wrong." Before Gu Mingming could question him, Kanwa's kneeling made Gu Mingming speechless. Gu Mingming poked Kanwa's head and said, "A man's knees are worth gold. Who allowed you to kneel? Get up." Kanwu raised his head and said innocently, "The last time I saw Bode teach a father beast, he said that if a female gets angry, she will not be angry if he kneels down and admits his mistake." Gu Mingming face-bombed. This was the lousy trick Bode taught Elvis when she chased Leah and Elvis out of the cave and forbade them from returning home. The 4 little ones were indeed present at that time, but it had been more than 2 years. These 4 were still buns then. TSK. Why did he keep remembering these useless things instead of important matters? "Mother, it's like this." This time, Qi Xian was the mastermind, and I was an accomplice. Kanwa did not know the details, and only followed because he did not want Qi Xian and I to take the risk alone. Since his fault was the lightest, we decided to push him out to take the beating. "Mother, just hit him as you see fit. Once he calms down, Qi Xian and I will explain to you." "Come, please do it." Gu Mingming looked at Jiao Yu and laughed in exasperation at this child. Kanwa did the least wrong, so why is he the one getting beaten up? "Because I can take a beating," Kanwu explained to himself with an inexplicable sense of pride on his face. Jiao Yu smiled apologetically and wrapped his arms around Gu Mingming's arm, acting coquettishly. It's precisely because he made the smallest mistake that Mother didn't hit him too hard. Moreover, Qi Xian and I are afraid of pain. So Kanwu isn't afraid of pain. Actually, as long as the 3 of them were safe, the anger in Gu Mingming's heart would dissipate by half. He had never thought of hitting his children. What's more, his 3 sons were already independent people. Other people's children would have left their parents and wandered the world when they were their age. He could do whatever he wanted, and his parents could no longer control him. Their child had done something dangerous outside, and when she came back, she had to appease her emotions. This was already very sensible. Chapter 1380. Gu Mingming tugged at Kanwu and said, "Stand up properly." Kanwu smiled sheepishly and stood up straight. He smiled apologetically and asked, "Mom, if you don't hit me, does that mean you won't be angry? You won't cry, right?" Gu Mingming suddenly recalled Leah saying that she had an ultimate weapon and all the males in the family were scared to death. She didn't understand it then, but now it dawned on her. Her ultimate weapon was her tears? Right, there was really such a thing. As a mother, she used her tears to force her son into a cowardly dog. "Why are you crying? Do I look like someone who likes to cry so much?" "Huh?" Gu Mingming pinched Kanwa's ears and said, "You rascal, better listen carefully. You're all wolves, do you understand? You should have pride and integrity. If I see you kneeling down again, I will break your legs." Kanwa nodded seriously before asking again, "Left leg or right leg?" "Both legs." Gu Mingming was furious. Who did this brat take after? At times like this, shouldn't she just reply, "I got it. Yes, 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 yes." Would that do? She still dared to ask if it was left leg or right leg. This was simply asking for a beating. Leah hugged Gu Mingming's waist and said, "You said it so harshly, but I wonder who it was." On the Moda Mountains, the moment she heard that the children were in Cole's hands, she was so scared that she cried and threw a tantrum. She even jumped off the cliff and threatened to kill herself, forcing Gregory to bring her back to Sauter to save her sons. If not for Gregory's quick reflexes, I'm afraid he wouldn't have the chance to break their legs in the future. Li's casual words made the 3 Qixin brothers tremble with fear. Kanwu was a man of action. He directly snatched the person from Li's arms and turned her left and right to take a closer look. He was so anxious that his brows were tightly knitted together. "Mom, are you injured? Does it hurt anywhere?" "Aya, aya. You call me a tiger and rash every day. Now I finally know who I took after." Gu Mingming was dizzy from being turned around by Kanwu. She raised her hand and knocked his head. "What are you saying? I am your mother." "I know. How can I not know you?" Kanwu sighed helplessly. Then he was suddenly shocked. He held Gu Mingming's head and looked at it carefully. Oh no, I don't know if she hurt her brain." "Little bastard, you're the one who broke your head." Gu Mingming felt like crying, but no tears would come out. She slapped Kamwa's hand away and said, "Your father protected me well, and Gregory caught us with one hand. I did not fall at all." Kamwa then heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at Gu Mingming worriedly and asked, "Really?" Gu Mingming exclaimed, "Ah, really?" Kamwa hesitated for a moment, then stretched out 3 fingers and asked, "How many are these?" Gu Mingming held her forehead and said lifelessly, "3." Kamwa was finally relieved. He hugged Gu Mingming and said, "Thank the heavens, you really didn't break anything. My mother, my dear mother, you can't do such a reckless thing in the future. How old are you? Huh? How could they not consider the consequences of their actions? Tell me, how can we work hard in the future with peace of mind? We were so worried. We didn't even see, and Mum was gone." Chapter 1381. Mummy, I know I was wrong, really. Kamwu pretended to be in pain as he begged for mercy. His exaggerated manner made Gu Mingming forget why she was angry in the first place. Jiaoyu and Qi Xian exchanged glances and finally felt at ease. They heaved a sigh of relief. "Mummy, sorry for making you worry about us." Gu Mingming sighed and hugged Jiaoyu and Qi Xian before saying, "All right, tell me, why did you guys get involved with coal?" "Mummy, do you know about the 7 treasures?" Qi Xian asked calmly. Gu Mingming nodded. "I know." Qi Xian sorted out his words before replying. "Cole knows too." Gu Mingming did not understand. It was not strange for Cole to know about the 7 treasures. She already knew about it. Qi Xian continued. "Not only does he know, he also believes that once the 7 treasures are gathered, they can open the doors of time and space." Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and nodded. "This is also true." Qi Xuan's face darkened. He was not surprised, but it seemed like his last bit of hope had been shattered. Qi Xian sighed without a trace. "According to my observations and conjectures, Cole's goal is to open the doors of time and space and lead the orcs to transmigrate to that dimension." Gu Mingming looked at Qi Xian in shock. She instinctively covered her mouth. Is he crazy? If the orcs appear in that world, it will definitely cause panic. And the orcs will definitely be the ones to suffer in the end. Qi Xian shook his head. Cole doesn't think so. He studied the previous messenger of the beast deity, and you. He realized that although both of you have smart minds, you do not have strong physiques. He thinks that he is smart enough to fight against you. So as long as there are enough orcs, he is confident that he can conquer that world. The orcs are restricted by a hierarchy. So even if they reach that world, no one will dare to defy him. Then, he will be the deity that rules that world. Gu Mingming face-palmed. She did not know if she should curse out loud. Leah stood behind Gu Mingming. He gently rubbed her temples. "What did you think of? Why do you have such an expression?" Gu Mingming sighed and said, "I just want to ask, why do you aliens always want to occupy Earth when our Earth is spinning and rolling around on its own? Let me tell you, aliens who are tens of thousands of years ahead of you in terms of intelligence brought destructive weapons to attack Earth, but they were still beaten back by the superheroes of the Avengers. As for you, who only have sharp claws and fangs if you go there, you will either be captured into a research institute to be dissected and used as an experimental specimen, or locked up in a zoo to be exhibited. A god that rules over the world. You must be crazy." Leah, Qi Xian, and Jiaoyu exchanged a look before asking softly, "Is there absolutely no chance of winning?" Gu Mingming nodded and said, "I guarantee that if Cole appears on Earth with his orc army, they will all be wiped out in less than an hour. Game over." Chapter 1382. Although the orcs all had international faces, their common language was Chinese. This might have something to do with the fact that the previous messenger of the beast deity was a Chinese, so Leah could not understand Gu Mingming's English. But this did not prevent him from understanding Gu Mingming's expressions and actions, so he could more or less understand what she was trying to express. His hands gently slid down and landed on Gu Mingming's shoulders, using just the right amount of strength. As he needed, he said, "Since it's a dead end, let him be. It's a clean death over there." and saves us the trouble. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "You don't know how advanced the technology in our world is and how crazy they are. Once they discover Cole's secret, they may use all methods to find a way to reverse the doors of time and space. By then, I'm afraid it won't be Cole occupying the Earth, but the Earth will attack the Beast World and develop this place into their second home." By then, Gu Mingming could not continue and just furrowed her brows. It was as if she could see orc corpses strewn all over the place, and the forests and rivers here would be replaced by concrete skyscrapers. The current blue sky and white clouds would eventually be tainted by haze, and males and females 10 meters away, and humans and beasts 100 meters away. I often scold Cole as a pervert, saying that he is mentally twisted, dark, and filthy, but I have never told you that humans are even more twisted, uglier, and filthier than Cole. And that kind of human heart can be found everywhere in the world we live in. To achieve their goals, they can do things even crazier than Cole. And I definitely do not wish for our current home to become their target one day. Leah did not care what would become of the Beast World. He only knew that Gu Mingming was worried and frowning. Gently stroking Gu Mingming's brows, Leah smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will not let anyone destroy the home you love. So we just have to stop Cole, right?" Gu Mingming sighed and nodded, saying, "We cannot let Cole succeed. Definitely not." "All right, I will definitely not let him succeed," Leah promised. Leah patted Gu Mingming lightly, then looked at Qi Xian. "Continue. You discovered Cole's secret, and then?" Qi Xian looked at Gu Mingming, then continued. "Among the 7 treasures, the tear of the beast deity, kiss of the ocean, soul of the forest, and heart of the desert have already appeared. The remaining love of the sky and spirit of the rocky cliffs were protected by the beast deity's boundary, so you could only take them. Cole knew that you were going to look for the love of the sky during the dry season, so he planned to lure you to take the spirit of the rocky cliffs next year. When these 2 items appear in the world, all that's left is the Beast King's key." Gu Mingming instinctively covered her stomach, putting on a defensive posture. Qi Xian chuckled and shook his head in exasperation. "Cole also knows that after what happened to me, you will definitely protect your child better. The chances of him snatching a child from 2 Beast King families is basically 0. So, he plans to give birth to a child with the bloodline of a Beast King to be the key of the Beast King. This winter, the Snow Fox clan's collective estrus is the opportunity he chose." Chapter 1383. At the mention of Cole, just now, all the females lowered their heads guiltily, which meant that all of them could have had an affair with Cole during the winter. Lexi alone had given birth to 9 little foxes this year. Including the other females, there will be a total of 23 snow fox cubs born this year. Damn it, did she have to kill all 23 cubs just to stop Cole? Then what was the difference between her and Cole? Wasn't they both going crazy for their own goals? Qi Xian tugged at Gu Mingming's arm. "Mom, don't worry. Let me finish." Gu Mingming looked up at Qi Xian, waiting for him to continue. Qi Xian said, "Jiaoyu and I spent a month to set up a trap, then used the medicinal bug that Cole had used on Daddy Leo on him." "Medicinal bug? You mean the one that causes people to lose their minds?" Gu Mingming asked in confusion. Qi Xian nodded. Daddy Leo had taught Jiaoyu the method to activate the medicinal bug, and I know how to use the fox seductive fragrance. Gu Mingming looked at Qi Xian in shock. The fox seductive fragrance was something from the snow fox tribe. How could a wolf like Qi Xian know how to use it? Moreover, if your 3-year-old son told you that he knew how to use the aphrodisiac, you would also be dumbfounded. Qi Xian looked at Gu Mingming's speechless expression and smiled. "Mom, don't think too much. I just used the fox seductive fragrance and bewitching spell to make Cole forget. You know bewitching spells too?" Gu Mingming was even more shocked. Qi Xian lowered his head and chuckled. "You and Cole are probably the 2 best at using bewitching spells in this world. Both of you have used it in front of me before. If you still can't learn it, then you're really too stupid." Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat. She pursed her lips and looked at Qi Xian guiltily. "You know that I used bewitching spells on you?" Qi Xian nodded honestly. "I know." Then, Gu Mingming's entire body shrank. She didn't dare to look at Qi Xian in the eyes. Qi Xian squatted down and placed his hand on Gu Mingming's knee. It was useful at the start. I really forgot about Cole. But to me at that time, Cole had taken up most of my memories. After forgetting about him, my memory was filled with a huge blank space, and I couldn't understand many things no matter how hard I tried. So, slowly, the bewitching spell lost its effect. But even so, there was one thing that I remembered very clearly. Mom, when you were crying, my heart felt like it was being squeezed by sharp claws. The pain was so painful that it was engraved in my heart, and I would never forget it. So, I swear, I will never do anything to make you cry again. So don't worry, even though I remember everything, I will not return to Cole's side. Really? Gu Mingming's eyes turned red. Qi Xian frowned and said, "Don't cry. If you cry, I will immediately go and look for Cole." Gu Mingming rubbed her eyes hard and shook her head. "I'm not crying. I'm not crying." Qi Xian then smiled and gave Gu Mingming a big hug. "So, Mom, don't worry. I'm very clear about what I'm doing now. I am not staying by your side because of your bewitching spell. It is because I am your son and you're my mother. I can't bear to see you cry, so I'm staying." Chapter 1384. After calming Gu Mingming down, Qi Xian continued, "To prevent a situation like mine from happening again, we only tampered with a small portion of Cole's memories. We did not delete or change too much of it." Gu Mingming asked, "What did you change?" Qi Xian smiled and squinted his eyes. "Mom, can I not say it?" Gu Mingming shook her head resolutely. "I know this is very annoying and will make you feel that I'm over-monitoring you. But sorry, all mothers in this world are the same." Qi Xian lowered his head and smiled. "It's not that I feel there's a problem with you over-monitoring me. The problem is that I am afraid that if I say it, your partners will kill me." Gu Mingming face-palmed. "Ah, you really did something to cause trouble. It's all right, just say it. If your beast father and Leah want to kill you, I will cry." Leah sighed in exasperation. "That's why I'm not willing to tell you what your ultimate weapon is." Gu Mingming looked up at Leah, helplessly. "But I can't just watch you and Elvis kill my son, right?" Leah poked Gu Mingming's little head. Biased, Gu Mingming did not deny it. She just squinted her eyes and smiled. Qi Xian cleared his throat. "Since that's the case, I will tell you the truth." "Say it." Gu Mingming sat down and held Qi Xuan's hand. She was all ears. Qi Xian pursed his lips and chuckled. "I magnified Cole's possessiveness towards you. I even hinted to him that he loves you." Cough, 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 cough. Gu Mingming choked on Qi Xuan's words. She looked at him with a confused expression. Leah also raised his eyebrows. He did not say anything else and was about to strike. Qi Xian hurriedly hugged Gu Mingming. "Mom, let me finish first." Gu Mingming held onto Leah. She took 2 deep breaths to calm herself down. She said in a lifeless tone, "Say it, in Cole's original plan, he wanted to obtain you so that he could use you to open the doors of time and space. To achieve this, he first had to assimilate you. He had to pull you into his mindset and behavior. Only then would you feel that what he was doing was right. Only then would you help him complete what he wanted to do." Qi Xian finished in one breath. Then he took another deep breath. "From a moment he poisoned me and held me hostage, his motive was not to threaten you, but to force you to abandon me. This proves that you and he are the same kind of person. As long as someone hinders you, you can eliminate them even if they are your family. Just like how he treated Daddy Leah and the First Highness of the Snow Fox clan. But no matter how much you've been hindered because of me, you've never given up on me. You'd rather compromise yourself over and over again, but you've never thought of taking the simplest path of killing me to end everything. Go down and down." Xian down Qi Xuan's. Mingming's face. I and Chapter 1385. So when we were in Zacharias, I volunteered to stay behind to fight Leonard. A 1st-level orc challenging a 4th-level orc is courting death. I thought I was doomed, but you used the soul of the forest to save me. Qi Xian looked up at Gu Mingming, his eyes filled with admiration and attachment. He, who rarely revealed his emotions, now looked extremely emotional. He rubbed his handsome face against Gu Mengming's arm and said, "Mum, your maternal love is too great. For me, you don't seem to have any bottom line at all. You don't even blink when you use any precious things on me. In order to protect me, you can swallow any grievances. But I'm still constantly making you angry, making you sad, and saying things that deserve a beating." Gu Mengming rubbed Qishuan's little head and said, "No, you are only like this because Cole used his bewitching spell on you. You are not a bad child. Even now, you're still defending me. Mum, you are probably the most gentle mother in the world." Qi knelt by Gu Mengming's feet and continued, "Cole realized that your love for me was boundless, and it was impossible to force you to kill me. So he sent Miranda over." Gu Mengming's eyes widened. Gu Mengming raised her eyebrows and looked at Qi. Qi smiled and said, "He knows that you treasure Daddy Leah, so he specially sent Miranda over to annoy you. He hopes that Daddy Leah and Miranda will have an amicable relationship, and then you will kill them. That way, he can prove that you are the same kind of person as him, and that all traitors deserve to die. And then it should be, you cannot wait for others to betray you before you kill them. In order not to be betrayed, you must first kill everyone who might betray you." It seems like he learned something from the words left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity. Something like, "I would rather betray others." Gu Mengming thought for a moment and said, "I would rather betray the world than let the world betray me." Qi nodded and said, "Yes, that seems to be it." Gu Mengming laughed coldly and said, "Is this Cole trying to learn from Cao Cao? Well, Cao Cao's way of dying is quite special. Maybe it suits him." Qi did not pester Gu Mengming to ask about Cao Cao. He just kept it in mind. After settling Cole's matter, he would invite Gu Mengming to Zacharias for the winter. Then, he could slowly listen to Gu Mengming tell him these stories. But Cole did not expect Daddy Leah to resist such a strong temptation and not touch Miranda. "You didn't kill Miranda either. You just sold her." Qi heaved a sigh of relief and continued, "Based on Cole's personality of not giving up until he reaches his goal, he will definitely try again after failing this time. And his moves will be more disgusting and vicious every time. I'm worried that once you fall for his dirty tricks, it'll be hard for you to get away. That's why I set up this trap and changed his thoughts about you." Gu Mengming looked at Qi in exasperation. "Do you think that as long as he falls in love with me, he will not scheme against me or hurt me? But my silly son, do you really think that someone like Cole knows what love is?" Qi shook his head and said, "He is not worthy of loving you." Leah nodded in agreement. Qi had said all day, and this was the most pleasing to the ear. Chapter 1386. Gu Mengming sighed. If she had known earlier, she would not have used Sun Tzu's art of war and 36 stratagems to enlighten the children. She had been hot-headed at that time and thought that since the Snow Fox tribe loved to give up their esoterica, she would just carve one for them. To prevent the next messenger of the beast deity from treating her as a joke, she decided to give up on Wang Xiaoxin's 300 poems of the Tang dynasty and carve the 36 stratagems instead, mainly to make it look more impressive. At that time, she really did not expect that the things she used to act cool would cause her son to be so daring to take such a risk to meddle in Cole's affairs. Holding her forehead, Gu Mengming decided not to casually act cool anymore. Even if she wanted to, she could not do it in front of the children. Qi did not know what Gu Mengming was thinking about and just continued. "No matter how I thought about it, the only thing that could make Cole go crazy was probably the matter of opening the doors of time and space. Although I do not know what the doors of time and space are, I know that if it is something that Cole wants to do, you would definitely not want to see it. So using this to provoke him would definitely not work. After thinking about it, he spent the most effort on you to open the doors of time and space. Step by step, he did things that looked like it was for your own good. He gave you all the things that looked beneficial on the surface, hoping to win your heart and make you like him. Although he had an ulterior motive, it was also true that he had spent so much effort on you. But no matter what he did, you just did not like him. So to someone like Cole who thinks that he is more intelligent than others and is unparalleled in the world, it was definitely a big blow. As a male, to a certain extent, he would definitely want to hunt you. So I used the fox seductive fragrance to confuse his mind. But just like what you said, Cole does not know what love is. So I could only magnify his possessiveness towards you and lead him to believe that possessiveness is love. Qixin grinned at Leah and said, I dare to do that because I believe that Daddy Leah would definitely not let him succeed. Leah snorted coldly and said, You place my female in that position and forcefully drag me down with you? You don't have to flatter me now, and I can't just stand by and watch. But kid, I'll remember this debt first, and we'll slowly settle it in the future. Qixin shrugged his shoulders and looked at Jiaoyu. Jiaoyu chuckled and took a step forward. He placed both hands on Li's shoulders and said, Daddy Leah, don't be so stubborn. You can't do anything to the four of us, because no matter what, my mother's heart is always on our side. Leah gritted his teeth. What was the meaning of the Wheel of Fortune? What did the heavenly Tao mean by reincarnation? How many people had he ridiculed with these words in the past? Even Snake was infuriated by this sentence. Now, the person who had infuriated him back then was being infuriated. Moreover, how similar was Jiaoyu's expression to his in the past? Yeah, I like it when you can't stand me, but can't get rid of me. Chapter 1387. Once he is completely controlled by the bug. Qixin chuckled. His gaze landed on Li's face. Daddy Leah will naturally have a way to make him obedient and not dare to cause any more trouble. But he is so suspicious. How could he not discover that you had planted the bug in his body? Back then, your Daddy Leah had removed it because he discovered it himself. I guess that Cole must have the ability to do so. Gu Mingming really did not think that Cole would be so easily controlled. With his cautiousness, he would have immediately become suspicious the moment he realized that he could not control his emotions. Qixin said innocently, We did not plant the bug in his body. He did it himself. Gu Mingming frowned and looked at Qixin in confusion. Qixin pointed at his own forehead. Gu Mingming was suddenly enlightened. Soul of the forest? Qixin nodded. I first placed the bug on my forehead. This bug loves to bite plants by nature, so it naturally found its way to the soul of the forest. And Cole was the one who took the soul of the forest from my forehead and placed it in his right chest. The three of us never touched him. Gu Mingming frowned. Even though Qixin was speaking so casually, was Cole such a scheming person? This winter, her three sons must not have had an easy time in Cole's hands. But it was obvious that these three fellows would never tell the truth. No matter how much she pestered them, they would only answer perfunctorily. They would never tell her what they had done this winter. Sigh. Children are all grown up and have their own ideas. They did not want to let what had already happened become a reason for her to cry. So they only presented a perfect outcome to her. But they did not know that the more she did not know the process, the more she would let her imagination run wild. Humans' greatest fear often came from their own imagination and speculations. She forced a smile. Her children were not willing to let her worry. So how could she bear to let them worry for her? So Gu Mingming could only convince herself that it was fine as long as her three sons were fine. She would not ask about what her children did not want to say. She would always remember that Cole had bullied her sons. She would just get revenge in the future. In the evening, noises could be heard from outside, and Gu Mingming knew that the first hunters had returned. Leah carried Gu Mingming and brought his three sons out of the stone castle, walking towards the deity altar. On both sides of the path, the Snow Fox clan and the Wolf clan formed a distinct standoff. Gu Mingming laughed coldly. Cole's arrival had indeed intensified the conflict between the Snow Fox clan and the Wolf clan. Everyone had a beast king, so no one was willing to concede. On the altar, Elvis and Cole stood on each side, each with a huge wild beast in front of them. Both of them stood there calmly, as if they did not care about winning or losing. Instead, the two groups of people below the stage were pushing and shouting at each other, giving off the feeling of street fights in old Hong Kong movies. Gu Mingming frowned and said coldly, creating trouble during the sacrificial ceremony for the first hunt. You guys are really looking down on me, the messenger of the beast deity. Gu Mingming's voice was not loud, but it effectively stopped both parties from taking action. The wolves retreated to Elvis's side in unison, then bowed their heads respectfully. Queen. Chapter 1388. Gu Mingming did not bother with anyone and just let Leah support her up the altar like an empress dowager. She looked at Elvis and then at Cole, asking with a smile, "Two beast kings, can anyone tell me what happened?" Elvis walked to Gu Mingming and held her other arm, then said softly, "It's just the Wolf Clan and Fox Clan fighting over whose prey to use for the sacrifice." Gu Mingming sat on the chair on the altar and held her chin, saying, "Oh, all right, then you guys fight it out. Inform me when you have a result." Cole bowed and smiled. "Since the great messenger is already here, then let the great messenger make the decision." "Me? That's not appropriate," Gu Mingming said nonchalantly. Cole smiled and looked at Gu Mingming dotingly, saying, "The great messenger represents the beast deity and is a supreme being. Everything she says is right. What's inappropriate about it?" Gu Mingming nodded and said, "All right, then the Fox Clan will have their prey for the sacrifice." The moment Gu Mingming finished speaking, the people from the Snow Fox Clan raised their heads and puffed out their chests, looking at the Wolf Clan who were still arguing with them with a provocative and contemptuous gaze. Although the Wolf Clan was not convinced, it was the Queen's decision after all. Without the Wolf King expressing his stance, they did not dare to act rashly and could only lower their heads and bear with it. Gu Mingming saw everything and waited for the Fox Clan to forget themselves before speaking again. "Warriors of the Wolf Clan, carry your prey back to the stone castle with me. We will hold a night campfire party. Huda, follow your brothers and carry your father's prey up. I want to bring it home to eat myself." In an instant, the atmosphere was tense and the faces of the Snow Fox Clan froze. "Great messenger, this sacrifice cannot be without you." Elder Eugene wanted to block Gu Mingming's way, but was blocked by the people from the Wolf Clan. He could not get close to Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming stopped in her tracks and said, "Don't you have the Fox King here?" When he was the leader of Sauter, he also hosted many sacrifices. He couldn't have forgotten how to host after wandering for a few years, right? But it doesn't matter. The next time I see the Beast God, I'll explain it to him. It's not convenient for me, the Wolf Clan's queen, to interfere with the Fox Clan's affairs, so I asked the Fox King to manage it on my behalf. My father has always doted on me, so he won't blame me for being lazy. Eugene wanted to say something else, but Gu Mingming beat him to it. "The sacrificial ceremony should be quite busy. I shall not waste your time." With that, Gu Mingming raised her head and shouted at the top of her lungs, "Loris, bring your tribesmen and come with me. Kiera has not seen you for a long time. Let's go play together today." Lawrence was Kiera's beast mother. Ever since she placed Kiera in Sandy's house, she used the excuse of being a child to hang out with Sandy and gradually became familiar with Gu Mingming. Although the people from the 16 tribes were not as smart as the Snow Foxes, they still had this little bit of foresight. Hearing Gu Mingming call out Loris, they naturally understood that she was dragging the 16 tribes along with her to the campfire party with the Wolf tribe, leaving the Snow Foxes here alone to worship. Chapter 1389. In the past, Sauter's sacrificial ceremony also had such a lineup, and Cole was only a 5th-level beast then. But now, even though he was a beast king, the entire scene suddenly became cold and cheerless, making the Snow Fox Clan feel especially awkward. Gu Mingming had made her stance clear. She meant that if the Snow Fox Clan dared to fight with the Wolf Clan in the future, she would lead the Wolf Clan and the 16 tribes to play alone, leaving the Snow Fox Clan out to dry. "Mighty Beast King, this." Elder Eugene looked at Cole with a troubled expression. Cole chuckled and said, "No rush, take it slow. I have always been patient with Agu." 2 flowers bloomed, one on each side. Gu Mingming led her people back to the stone castle joyfully. The stone castle was built by the previous messenger of the beast deity, Wang Xiaoxin. After the messenger of the beast deity left, the successive tribe leaders stayed here. This was Sauter's iconic building and also the symbol of theocracy, so its style was naturally different from others. The large empty space at the entrance was no smaller than the area of the altar of deity. In addition, without the Snow Fox clan, the number of people was reduced by a third, so although the bonfire party was crowded, it still seemed especially lively. Gu Mengmeng purposely separated the wolf clan from the 16 tribes and sat together. At the start, they were all guarded against each other and felt uneasy. Huda and his brothers were like butterflies jumping around the bonfire to liven up the atmosphere. And soon, the two sides became familiar with each other. To the wolf clan, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of the queen is the enemy of the wolf king, and the enemy of the wolf king is the enemy of the entire wolf clan. Since the wolf clan could not defeat the fox clan alone, then it was naturally better to have more allies. For the 16 tribes, it was very difficult for them to survive in the gap between two tribes with beast kings. They did not think that they could fight against either the wolf tribe or the fox tribe. The best way was to rely on one of them and form an alliance with them. The so-called choice between the two tribes was actually a choice between the two beast kings. It was obvious that the wolf clan was closer to the messenger of the beast deity, and there was a ninth highness in the family of the messenger of the beast deity. Once this ninth highness successfully leveled up and broke through his limits to activate the beast king bloodline like Elvis, then this legitimate beast king would become the true leader of the fox clan. Cole, that stray beast king, would at most be a fake. By then, the fox clan and wolf clan would belong to the messenger of the beast deity. Hence, the priority of choosing a side in advance was naturally to follow the messenger's wishes. In today's sacrificial ceremony, the emissary's attitude was obvious. With such a consensus, the atmosphere between the two races naturally became harmonious. On such a night, it was inevitable that another fiery blind date would take place. Gu Mengmeng held her forehead and sighed. "We can't sleep at home tonight. Let's go out and lie low for a while." Elvis and Leah were used to Gu Mengmeng avoiding other people's mating scenes, so they did not say much and left quietly with Gu Mengmeng. They had originally wanted to go to the stream to look at the stars, but Gu Mengmeng insisted on going to Sandy's house. The reason was simple: if I don't sleep, no one else is allowed to sleep. Chapter 1390. Sandy pointed at the bird circling in the sky and said, "Is it that birdman Gregory who's still flying around blindly in the middle of the night?" Gu Mengmeng looked up at the sky. "I don't know, it's too far. I can't see clearly. But it shouldn't be so fast. Didn't he bring Miranda back to the Moda Mountains? You should at least take a few days to arrange for mating, right? After all, there are too many wolves but not enough meat. Females are so rare, they must be dealt with appropriately. As the tribe leader, if he doesn't stay behind to control the situation, wouldn't it be a mess?" With that, Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and smiled at Sandy. "Why? You like him? Gregory is quite a good male. His looks are definitely at the level of a Prince Charming. He is also very powerful. Most importantly, he can fly, and he can fly very high. If your family can add an air force, it's not bad." Sandy rolled her eyes at Gu Mengmeng. "I don't want a blind man. Gregory isn't blind, okay? A vulture's eyes are very good. He can even see a potato dropping from such a high place." Gu Mengmeng defended Gregory. "He's not blind." Sandy straightened her back. She roared as if she wanted to pick a fight with someone. "If he's not blind, where did he get the confidence to say that he doesn't like you?" Gu Mengmeng, should she tell Sandy that Gregory had already slapped himself in the face, and now he liked her again? Sandy was filled with righteous indignation. "I thought he would be around today, after winter, so I wanted to see what kind of person he was. How dare he look down on our Gu Mengmeng? In the end, I didn't see him and couldn't vent my anger that I had been suppressing for an entire winter. Now, I don't like any bird I see. TSK, none of the birdmen are good." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, Aren't you being too presumptuous by saying that you could defeat a whole boat of people with one strike? That Ian and the rest are our people, right? By saying that the Eagle Owl tribe is being treated unjustly." Sandy thought about it. That was true. Gregory had offended her, but the others with wings did not. But she had already scolded him. How could she take it back? So she cleared her throat. If any birdman is unhappy, ask them to settle scores with Gregory, who asked him to ruin the reputation of all the birdmen. Oomph. Gu Ming Ming smiled apologetically. Yes, 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 my precious Sandy is always right. Gu Ming Ming stayed at Sandy's house and chatted with Sandy the whole night, while Elvis and Leah sat by the side to accompany her the whole night. The arrival of the Lord Wolf King made Sandy's 7 wolf beasts excited for the entire night. Since then, they had even more love and respect for Sandy. The next morning, when Gu Ming Ming returned to the stone castle with a yawn, the entrance had already been tidied up. Gregory stood at the entrance, his gaze locked onto the direction Gu Ming Ming had appeared from. Seeing her return, he did not go up to her, but instead turned to leave. He didn't know why he had stood at the door for the whole night. He just wanted to wait for her to come back, but when she came back, he realized that he had no right to wait for her, so he could only leave. He stood in the wind for the entire night just to see her. Gu Ming Ming didn't greet Gregory either. Their relationship was extremely awkward. Both of them knew what was going on, and it wouldn't be appropriate to take a step back. Chapter 1391. The moment Gu Ming Ming pushed the door open, the 4 little fellows immediately sat up straight. They opened their eyes and stared at the door for a while. Gu Ming Ming could tell with one look that they were still in a daze from sleep. They looked alert, but their brains had not yet processed the situation. So she smiled and said, "Go to sleep. I will wake you all up when Daddy Leah is done cooking." The 4 young men nodded blankly, then fell headfirst into a deep sleep. Gu Ming Ming smiled helplessly and shook her head. Elvis carried her up to the 2nd floor and said, "You sleep for a while too. I will wake you up when Leah is done cooking." Gu Ming Ming was also tired after staying up all night, so she did not reject and allowed Elvis to carry her up to the 2nd floor to sleep soundly. She slept for the entire day. When she woke up, it was already evening. Rubbing her eyes, she went downstairs and saw her 4 sons surrounding Elvis. It looked like they had been fighting for quite a while. The 4 sons were all sweating profusely, but their eyes were shining with excitement. Elvis was fighting one against 4 with ease. The 4 little fellows could not gain any advantage in front of Elvis in any way they cooperated. Leah stood against the setting sun, and his shadow was elongated by the sunlight. He pointed in Gu Ming Ming's direction, and when he saw her coming downstairs, he could not help but smile. He lifted the lid of the pot and said while scooping some food, "Ming Ming, you're awake? You must be hungry. Come and eat." Gu Ming Ming nodded and walked to the dining table. Leah had just placed the bowls on the table when the 4 sons had already crowded around the table and sat at their seats. Gu Ming Ming used a bee skin to wipe the sweat off Kanwa's forehead, who was sitting closest to her. She smiled and asked, "Look at what you guys did. You're all sweaty." Kanwa chuckled and said, "Mum, fighting with the Beast King is really exhilarating." Gu Ming Ming smiled helplessly and said, "We did not gain any advantage. What's so exhilarating about it?" Kanwa looked at Gu Ming Ming seriously and shook his head, saying, "Which wolf tribe can gain any advantage from the Wolf King? We will definitely lose, but just the 4 of us daring to attack the Wolf King is already much more valiant than the other wolves. Didn't you see Mother-in-Law's 7? I heard from Colin that they're usually rampant at home, but when they're in front of the Wolf King, they're all docile and don't even dare to breathe loudly." Gu Ming Ming patted Kanwa's little head and said, "Yes, yes, yes, you 4 brothers are the most ferocious. Why don't you take a look at who gave birth to your sons?" Kanwa was grinning so widely that only his teeth could be seen. He was obviously very pleased with himself. Gu Ming Ming continued, "But why don't you call him Father Beast? Should we call him Wolf King?" Kanwa straightened his neck and said arrogantly, "When my, Kanwa's, father is more honorable than the Wolf King, I will naturally call him Father. Silly son, parents are the most honorable titles in this world. No other titles can replace them." Kanwa shook his head and said, "No. One day, when I become a Beast King, I will call the Wolf King Father Beast." Gu Ming Ming was helpless. Her son was very ambitious, and she could not possibly pour cold water on him. Moreover, Elvis himself did not say anything, so what else could she say? She just rubbed Kanwa's head and asked, "What about me? Do you still call me Great Messenger or Snake King in the future? Chapter 1392. We have 6 males in our family. Let's do those tough, dangerous, and dirty things. You just have to stay at home obediently and be my mother. Gu Mingming sighed with a smile. Although the children refused to tell her what exactly happened at Cole's place during winter, it was not hard to guess from Kanwa's description. Tough, dangerous, dirty, Gu Mingming sighed softly. How many people have to fall into hell to protect one's innocence? If the price of letting me be carefree is that all of you are in danger, then why not? Leah hugged Gu Mingming's shoulder and hooked her chin with his other hand, blocking the rest of her words back into her mouth. Using his tongue, he crushed the rest of her words into a whimper. The kiss was deep, and when he let go, Gu Mingming looked at Leah with her face flushed red. He then chuckled and said, "As long as we can protect you completely, even if we fall into hell, we will still feel that we have a bright future ahead of us. So, keep away your what-ifs and what-ifs. Just be a good little fairy and let us protect you. If you dare to do what you did on the Moda Mountains a second time, I will definitely return the favor and let you see everyone you care about die in the most tragic way in front of you, including me." Gu Mingming shrunk her neck and smiled. "Didn't I already explain? I only dared to jump because I was certain that Gregory would catch me. That was just an immature method to threaten others. I wasn't really seeking death. There are many ways to achieve your goal, but you chose the one that drove Elvis and me crazy." Leah looked at Qi Xian faintly. "You abandoned us for him. This makes me very unhappy." Gu Mingming knew that Leah would not really kill Qi Xian, but if he wanted to be evil, he would have endless ways to torture others. She was not willing to let her precious son fall into Li's evil hands. Hence, she immediately gave in and hugged Li's waist. Smiling, she said, "Isn't it because I'm not as smart as you that I could only think of such a method that would harm myself? Why don't you tell me what you were planning to do at that time? I will learn well and not make such a mistake again." How could Leah not know what Gu Mingming was thinking? However, he wasn't going to do anything to Qi Xian anyway, so he decided to go along with her wishes. He pinched her little nose and said, "It's very simple. You just have to sing a song." What do you want to sing?" Gu Mingming was confused. Leah chuckled. "In the beast world, only 2 races know how to sing, the mermaids and the birds. The difference is that only the females of the mermaid clan can sing, while only the males of the avian clan can sing." Gu Mingming rolled her eyes and suddenly smiled. "So, once a female's voice is heard in the Moda Mountains, it will definitely attract the attention of the other birds' tribe members. They will definitely come to investigate. As long as we attract everyone's attention, the success rate of finding 1 or 2 people who can send us down the mountain will be very high." Gu Mingming knocked her own head regretfully and said, "I'm so stupid. Why didn't I think of that?" She had set her sights on Gregory and thought that he was the only one with wings in the world. But then again, how do you know that only males can sing? Chapter 1393. Since you already had a plan, why didn't you tell me earlier? Then I wouldn't have done something so dangerous and made you worry. Gu Mingming looked at Leah with a wronged expression. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's nose and shook it left and right. "How many times have I told you to leave anything to me and Elvis to handle? As long as you remember my words, you wouldn't have done anything like that. Now you still dare to accuse me? I was wrong." Gu Mingming knew she was in the wrong and didn't dare to push her luck. She just smiled apologetically. "Seeing the 2 of you jump down with me without saying anything, I was really scared. I won't dare to do it again. I really won't dare to do it again." So ever since they returned from the Moda Mountains, Gu Mingming didn't stick her neck out. She would obediently take 2 steps back and let Elvis and Leah handle anything. Even when Cole appeared in solder, Gu Mingming didn't bother to handle it. She trusted that Elvis and Leah would have their own arrangements. Tilting her head, Gu Mingming asked again, "I have another question." Leah asked. Gu Mingming, "That cave is so far from the main mountain range, and the wind and snow are howling outside. With my tiny voice, how can my song travel that far?" Leah smiled faintly. He bent down and blew gently into Gumingming's ear. If your voice doesn't work, there's still your scent. Don't forget, you have a scent that can make all males go crazy. As long as Elvis and I work harder, we can make use of that wind to make all the males on the Moda Mountains go crazy. Scent Fox seductive fragrance. Gu Mingming glared at him. She crossed her arms in a defensive position. You actually want me to sell my body? Leah grinned. With Elvis and me protecting you, no one will be able to get you. As long as that group of males who were driven by their primal desires approach the cave, Elvis can unleash his beast pressure to subdue them. Then, he can preach righteousness, threaten and tempt them, or even use bewitching spells if that doesn't work. Anyway, there are countless ways to make them obedient. Gu Mingming held her forehead and said, Leah, I really realize that a fox will always be a fox. I admit defeat and will never act smart in front of you again. Leah poked Gu Mingming's brows and said, I will listen to it for now. Gu Mingming laughed mischievously. She had no choice. Her credibility with Elvis and Leah had long been destroyed. There was nothing she could do even if they did not believe in her promises. After the meal, Kanwu and Qi Xian bade farewell to Gu Mingming. They were not around at the end of winter, so Zacharias was probably in chaos. Burke could not handle the situation alone, so they had to return as soon as possible to stabilize the situation. Gu Mingming hugged her two sons, reminding them not to risk their lives in the future and to be more careful in doing things. The two of them just chuckled and did not answer her directly. Gu Mingming understood that in their hearts, they had already decided that males should shield females from the wind and rain, not letting females come into contact with any danger. So these two sons would still use their own methods to protect her next time. Gu Mingming took a step back. At least promise me that you will ensure your own safety as much as possible. We will. Qi Xian hugged Gu Mingming back. Mom, you should smile more. Your smile is the prettiest. Chapter 1394. After sending Qi Xian and Kanwu off, Jiaoyu and Huda started to busy themselves with the affairs of the tribe. The marriage alliance between the 16 tribes and the Wolf clan caused the internal situation of Sauter to be unstable. The Snow Fox clan had originally thought that with Cole as the Fox King, they would be able to stand up to the Wolf clan. Although Elvis was Gu Mingming's partner, the Snow Fox clan was still a native tribe and had a different foundation. But who would have thought that during the first hunt, Gu Mingming would gather the 16 tribes and the Wolf clan together? The situation instantly changed from a three-way fight to a one-sided fight, making it difficult for the Snow Fox clan to fight alone. But Cole was someone who did not care and ignored the situation, as if he did not care about the fate of the Snow Fox clan at all. So, the elders could only find another way to save the nation. That morning, Gu Mingming was carried by Leah to Sandy's house. At the border of Sandy's territory, she saw a familiar person. Arnold, a third-level male from the Snow Fox clan, was the one who had started the first battle with Hodgson on the day of the marriage alliance between Sandy and the Wolf clan. He was the leader of the younger generation. Great messenger. Arnold bowed respectfully to Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming looked at him in confusion. You are here for something? Arnold nodded and said, I'm here to confess to female Sandy. Confess? Gu Mingming was even more surprised. Didn't the Snow Fox clan never marry outsiders? Going back 8 generations, even when Wang Xiaoxin was still alive, she did not have a single Snow Fox as a partner. They would rather raise their clans and become her followers, but none of them became her male. Leah was the only exception in the entire Snow Fox clan. When her identity as the messenger of the beast deity was exposed, although the Snow Fox clan did not dare to say anything openly, they did not hold back against Leah. It was only after Gu Mingming became the Beast King and became more domineering due to the influence of Snake's memories did they gradually restrain themselves. As a respected messenger of the beast deity, the Snow Fox clan did not welcome her. But this Arnold suddenly confessed to Sandy, a half-orc? It wasn't that Sandy wasn't a good person. It was just that the Snow Fox clan was an arrogant race, and they couldn't help but be suspicious. Leah swayed his tail and smiled. Do you think that I, the Ninth Highness, am not strong enough to stabilize the relationship between the messenger of the beast deity and the Snow Fox clan? So you want to imitate the Wolf clan and form a marriage alliance with Sandy? Gu Mingming frowned. She looked at Arnold with a guarded expression. Arnold did not avoid the question. He smiled and replied, "After all, the Ninth Highness's heart is not on the Snow Fox clan's side, isn't it?" Leah nodded and confessed, "Of course, my heart only belongs to my Meng Meng. That's why the Snow Fox clan has to find another way out." Arnold admitted that he had proposed to Sandy for the sake of a marriage alliance. "Go back." Gu Mingming said, "I will not allow anyone with ulterior motives to get close to Sandy." Arnold didn't leave. Instead, he calmly asked, "Don't tell me that the members of the Wolf clan don't have ulterior motives when they mate with Sandy? Or is it that the great messenger favors one and discriminates against the other? The things that the Wolf clan can do, the Snow Fox clan cannot?" Gu Mingming was speechless. The 7 wolves from Sandy's family mated with Sandy because they wanted to rope Gu Mingming in through Sandy. This was the truth, and there was no way to deny it. Chapter 1395. So, even though the 7 wolves had impure motives, they would not do anything to harm Sandy. But the Beast King of the Snow Fox clan was Cole. She did not trust Cole, so she did not trust everyone in the Snow Fox clan. So she would not allow the Snow Fox clan to infiltrate Sandy's family. You lost to Hodgson the last time. It must have been very frustrating, right? You were on par with him, but you only lost by half a move? It's really depressing to think about it. Leah swayed his tail and said nonchalantly, "But now, he is a 4th-level beast. I wonder if you're still his match if you two were to fight now." Lee's meaning was that if he wanted to woo the other party's female, he would have to challenge the other party's male. The Wolf clan would not allow the Snow Fox clan to marry Sandy, so Hodgson was a hurdle he could not cross. This matter would not happen. Arnold lowered his head and smiled. Then, did the Ninth Highness mate with the Great Messenger because he defeated the Wolf King? Leah raised his brows and smiled. "Why? Are you Sandy's first love?" Arnold shook his head and said no. Leah asked again, "Did you and Sandy have a lingering old relationship?" Arnold shook his head again. "No." Leah chuckled. "Then what are you going to use to compete with me?" Arnold stood straight and chuckled against the light. He did look like a carefree scholar. He said in a low voice, "Old relationships are not as good as new ones. First love is not as good as long-term companionship. It has always been the Snow Fox clan rejecting others. No one has ever resisted the Snow Fox clan. After all, if a Snow Fox male wants to coax a female, even a knowledgeable female like the Great Messenger would succumb to the Ninth Highness charm. Arnold may not be comparable to the Ninth Highness, but it should be enough to match Sandy." Leah was not angry. He just smiled. "But you can't even enter the territory now, right?" Arnold nodded. "I heard that the Ninth Highness was chased out of the territory by the Great Messenger several times. It was only because of his infatuation that he managed to move the Great Messenger. Arnold also wants to imitate the Ninth Highness and act as an infatuated lover." Leah nodded and said, "Good luck." With that, he swayed his tail and looked at Gu Mingming, saying, "Let's not disturb him while he is brewing his emotions. Sandy is going to complain to you again when he gets anxious." "All right." Gu Mingming did not say anything else and just followed Elvis and Leah into Sandy's territory. Sandy used to sit at the entrance of the cave and bask in the sun. But today he had shrunk back into the cave. Clearly, he was avoiding Arnold. Upon seeing Gu Mingming, Sandy's face turned sullen. "That person is still standing at the borders of the territory?" Gu Mingming nodded, and Elvis placed her beside Sandy's bed. Gu Mingming sat in front of Sandy and hugged little Dodgy in her arms. She teased her and said to Sandy, "Since you don't like him, just get Colin or Hodgson to chase him away. Why do you have to hide like this? You make it sound like you did something wrong." Chapter 1396. What I mean is what I mean. Whoever annoys you deserves to be beaten up. Gu Mingming didn't mind at all. Moreover, who in this world has to agree to someone's confession? Since he dared to confess, he should be mentally prepared to challenge your partner. Just treat it as sending Colin or Hodgson to accept his challenge. Who can he blame if he can't win? Sandy poked Gumengmeng's little head. How many years have you been in the beast world? Don't you know the rules of the beast world? You have to challenge your partner to woo a female, but they can choose, all right? Gumengmeng blinked her eyes and looked at Sandy in confusion. Sandy sighed and said, "Don't tell me that ever since you mated with Elvis and Leah, no other males have confessed to you." Gumengmeng recalled and nodded. "Yes, but it was only 2 or 3 times." Sandy continued, "Then what did the 2 of them say when they confessed to you?" Gumengmeng tilted her head and looked at Elvis and Leah. She thought for a while and shook her head. "I forgot. It seems like I usually rejected them directly." Leah took a step forward and glared at Dodgy. Due to the connection between the 2 races, Dodgy very sensibly jumped out of Gumengmeng's arms. Only then did Leah carry Gumengmeng in his arms and pinched her little face. "You little heartless one, don't you know how much effort Elvis and I had put into getting rid of your rotten peaches? Huh? You still dare to say that you rejected them? Did you reject Burke when he impersonated UC Jean? Did you reject that 2nd-level tiger beast in Zacharias when he confessed to you? And when that witch doctor in St. Nazir confessed to you?" "I rejected them all," Gumengmeng said righteously. "I rejected them all when they confessed to me. That kind of rejection is not a rejection in the eyes of males. It is just a test of their sincerity and patience." Leah shook his head helplessly. Gumengmeng thought for a while. "Impossible. I made myself very clear." Leah pinched Gumengmeng's face and shook it left and right, saying, "Your gentle tone and tactful words sound like you're trying to reject me. No male will give up the thought of pursuing you after hearing it." Gumengmeng looked at Leah and Leah. Huh. Gumengmeng felt that she had made herself very clear. But to be honest, it was very burdensome to reject someone, especially in a place like the beast world. Unlike the modern world, where guys confess to you with too many ulterior motives, the orcs here use their entire lives to prove to you how happy they can make you. Faced with such a pure dedication type of confession, Gumengmeng really could not say anything too harsh or sharp. Blinking her eyes, Gumengmeng asked Leah, "But they clearly didn't pester me after I rejected them." Leah was so infuriated by Gumengmeng that he laughed. He asked her, "Do you think they were rejected by your gentle words?" Gumengmeng nodded her head in deep agreement. "What else can I do?" Leah placed Gumengmeng opposite him, then looked in her eyes and sneered. "If you want to mate with my Gumengmeng, you must first challenge your partner. Do you want to challenge me or him?" Leah tilted his head. Elvis was standing behind him with a black face and a murderous aura. Chapter 1397. Why? Do you feel regretful? Leah glanced sideways at her, the smile on his face changing. It was filled with a strong warning. If you dare to say you feel regretful, you are dead meat. Before Gumengmeng could say anything, the 7 wolves from Sandy's family all knelt on the ground. This made Gumengmeng dumbfounded. The words she wanted to explain were stuck at the tip of her tongue as she stared at Elvis and Leah in bewilderment. Sandy gave Gumengmeng a push and smiled. "Don't you know how jealous these 2 in your family are? Hurry up and coax them, or bring out your female prowess." Gumengmeng face-palmed. "What female prowess? Don't you know I'm a coward?" Sandy also smiled. "If you are a coward, hurry up and coax them. If you don't, Hodgson and the rest will not be able to hold on any longer." Gumengmeng smiled helplessly and shook her head. She held on to Leah with one hand and Elvis with the other. She smiled. "Why are you scaring Sandy's partners? They have never confessed to me. Moreover, coaxing the 2 of you is enough for me. Why would I have the time to invite another troublemaker back? Do you think your life is too comfortable?" Elvis retracted his aura, and the 7 wolves finally stood up. Colin carried Sandy and said, "Let's go out and get some sunlight. You can't always hide in the house. At most, we will cover you up and prevent him from seeing you or you from seeing him. How about that?" Colin had protected Gumengmeng before, and he knew that this was the time to hide. Although in the beast world, with their hearing, they could still hear their conversation no matter how far they hid, but Gumengmeng was a prideful person. She still had to do such things. Sandy nodded, and Hodgson took out 3 thick animal skins and laid them outside the cave. Bode took out some of Sandy's favorite fruits and placed them on the animal skins. After Hodgson carried Sandy out and placed her on the animal skin, the males lined up and formed a human barrier around Sandy. After Sandy's family left, Elvis and Leah finally put Gu Ming Ming down. Both of their expressions did not look too good as they pursed their lips and did not say a word. Gu Ming Ming looked at the two of them communicating with their eyes in front of her, as though they were using Morse code to communicate with each other. She looked at them in a daze the entire time, not knowing what was wrong with them. Wasn't everything fine when he arrived? Originally, they were talking about Arnold's pursuit of Sandy, but she didn't know how it ended up involving her. But she also said that she had no intention of finding a new partner. So why did the two of them still look constipated? The two of them exchanged glances for a long time before Leah finally spoke. He sat upright in front of Gu Ming Ming and asked, "Ming Ming." Actually, Gu Ming Ming just looked at Leah, waiting for him to say something. But when the words were at the tip of her tongue, they seemed to be extremely difficult to say. Even someone as eloquent as Leah could not say anything. Gu Ming Ming waited for a long time, but seeing that Leah still could not say anything, she took the initiative to ask, "What about me?" Leah frowned slightly and looked at Gu Ming Ming with a pair of deep and indescribable heaviness. He asked, "Do you not like Elvis and me anymore?" "Huh?" Gu Ming Ming was dumbfounded. She shook her head like a rattle drum. "Who said that? How can it be? You are my men. If I don't like you, who should I like?" Chapter 1398. No, I really didn't. Gu Ming Ming waved her hands in denial. Leah smiled bitterly. He was hoping for her to deny it, but when she really denied it, he did not believe her. Normally, a female would take in 5 to 10 new males every year. Other than the first partner, she would eat 2 to 3 during winter and 4 to 5 would die during normal battles. In this way, the total number of members in the family would not change, but the males would always be new. Leah sighed and continued, "The number of males in our family is originally less than others. You know how to store food, so you don't need to eat your partners during winter. Elvis and I are the more tenacious type and would not die easily in battle. So, you have already been in the beast world for 4 years. According to other family situation, you should have already had 20 to 40 partners." Just hearing this number made Gu Ming Ming's scalp go numb. Somehow, she thought of the scene of Sandy mating with Hodgson and Jerry. 2 males were enough to keep a female bear like Sandy in bed for 7 days. What the hell? Gu Ming Ming felt that she might die in bed with 20 to 40 partners. Until now, she still could not feed the 2 males in her family. Every time she brewed, she would beg them to be gentler and take pity on her, and they did feel sorry for her. After that, the 2 of them did not torture her anymore. But even if one of them was especially restrained, she would still faint every single time. 20 to 40. Just thinking about it made Gu Ming Ming's legs turn to jelly. One of Lee's arms was held by Gu Ming Ming, so he used his other hand to hold Gu Ming Ming's little hand that was on his arm. He continued, "With Elvis and me keeping watch, the number of males who dare to confess and woo you is far more than this. Without the 2 of us, you would definitely be more popular. There would be an endless stream of males around you, bringing you different kinds of joy. Every day, there would be fresh faces trying their best to cater to you and please you, unlike now, where you can only face me and Elvis every day." Leah held Gu Ming Ming's hand and placed it on his face. He tried his best to smile, but looked very sad. His voice was slightly trembling, and his eyes were filled with uneasiness. "This face, do you still like it? Can it still attract your attention?" "I like it. Of course I like it," Gu Ming Ming answered hurriedly. Did she really not know what had happened to Elvis and Leah? Suddenly, his mood was so low. Could it be that even males were in a bad mood for a few days a month? "But how long has it been since you last blushed when looking at me? Your eyes will no longer reveal that kind of infatuation when you look at me." Leah lowered his eyelids, his long eyelashes forming a shadow under his eyes, concealing most of his expression. Once upon a time, As long as I appeared in the crowd, you would see me at one glance and your eyes would never leave me. But now, I'm always by your side, yet you rarely look at me. That's right, no matter how beautiful a face is, after looking at it for 4 years, one should be tired of it. I'm not like Elvis, your first partner, and the mark is not on your heart. It's also possible that you're sick of me. Chapter 1399. Gu Mingming felt wronged. She did not want to find a new partner. Leah held on her hand, his fingertips trembling. He appeared to be very careful as he begged. Not only that, I will change all the things you don't like. I will never threaten you again. I will support you in whatever you want to do. In the future, if there are males pursuing you, I will also not be a hindrance. Don't abandon me, all right? It's all right even if I don't get favored. It's all right even if I don't have my current status in the family. I don't care about anything. As long as I can see you again, I will be satisfied, all right? Gu Mingming rubbed her head, looking at Leah in a daze, asking, "Did you take the wrong medicine? What are you talking about? When did I want to find a new partner? What did I say I want to abandon you? What are you talking about?" Leah lowered his head, replying, "You already think that Elvis and I are trouble, don't you?" Leah laughed self-deprecatingly, not daring to look into Gu Mingming's eyes. His gaze drifted to the side, muttering in a low voice, "Yeah, which male dares to be so brazen in front of females? You treated me too well in the past, causing me to forget myself. It's normal for you to be sick of me." "I'm not sick of you." Gu Mingming held onto Lee's shoulders, roaring angrily. "Can you be more normal? What's going on? Your sudden pretentiousness is making me very confused. You clearly said find another trouble just now. Doesn't that mean that Elvis and I are already trouble in your eyes?" Lee's gaze dimmed, obviously hurt. Gu Mingming smacked her head, feeling rather speechless. Sighing, she looked at Elvis, asking, "You two were making eye contact in front of me just now, and this is the result of your communication?" Elvis hesitated for a moment, but still nodded honestly. Gu Mingming was so angry that she wanted to laugh. She thought that only females would be so sensitive, getting into a dead end because of an unintentional sentence, but it turned out that males could do it too. Gu Mingming simply sat cross-legged by the bed, looking at Elvis and Leah, saying, "Tell me, did the two of you suffer from some trauma recently? Our family has always been like this. We've been living well for the past 4 years. I don't believe that nothing happened. You two suddenly became pretentious. Did he hear something, or did he see something? Cole instigated the two of you?" Gu Mingming thought about all the possibilities and asked them one by one. Elvis remained silent, and Leah also pursed his lips without saying a word. However, his gaze could not help but drift towards the door and look at Sandy, who was sitting there. Gu Mingming was confused. "Why? Did Sandy scold you?" Leah shook his head and tried to pull Gu Mingming's little hand. Seeing that she did not resist, he then pulled her into his arms and hugged her gently. He rested his chin on the top of Gu Mingming's head and said, "Ever since Sandy tamed those 7 wolf beasts, Elvis and I felt that something was wrong." Gu Mingming thought about it, but could not understand. Thus, he could only open his mouth and ask, "What does it have to do with you two that he's taking in a new partner? What? You two want to cheat on me and hook up with my best friend?" Leah clenched his teeth and wanted to poke Gu Mingming's head and scold her for being heartless. But he swallowed his words back, and his hand stopped in front of Gu Mingming's forehead. He sighed and put his hand back. He just lowered his eyes and said, "Do you still remember Bode's and Colin's reactions on the day Sandy took in a new partner?" Gu Mingming thought about it and shook her head. "What reactions did they have? It was too crowded that day, and I did not notice. There didn't seem to be any reactions. Aside from the topic, all right, my babies, this is the last chapter of the explosive chapter. The first day was free, the second day, 130 chapters, the third and fourth day, 50 chapters each. Susu's explosive chapter was considered to be very sincere, right? So, can Susu be bold and confident when she says she wants the monthly votes for this round? Chapter 1400. Yes, there was no reaction. 1 is the first partner, and the other has a mark on his heart. These two people watched as Sandy took in 7 new partners and did nothing. They did not even show any signs of unhappiness. Leah chuckled and looked down at Gu Ming Ming, who was in his arms. Say, if it was me and Elvis, what would happen? Gu Ming Ming smiled without thinking. You would definitely explode, right? If the two of you knew that I went through a marriage to maintain the stability of the tribe, you would probably crush the tribe into pieces and say to me, all right, the tribe is gone. There's no need to maintain stability anymore. That should be the case, right? Gu Ming Ming mimicked Elvis and Lee's exploding behavior. She felt that she was rather comical and could not stop giggling. But Leah and Elvis could not bring themselves to laugh. They nodded. Yeah, we might really do that. The atmosphere was so awkward that Gu Ming Ming could not laugh anymore. She pursed her lips and asked, So, what are you trying to say? Leah said, Elvis and Bode are both first partners. If you really like him, he will force himself to accept the newbie you choose. But if you don't like him and have no other choice but to mate with him, he would rather die than to let the male you don't like enter the house. Colin's mark was imprinted on Sandy's chest. He was the man that Sandy had loved for many years. Before Hodgson and Sandy had become partners, he had been the strongest member of Sandy's family. He was also the male who loved his beast the most. If he tried to stop Sandy from marrying a wolf beast, Sandy would definitely not ignore his objections and insist on accepting a new partner. But we talked to Bode and Colin a few days before Sandy became partners with the wolf beast. We asked them why they did not stop it from the start. Can you guess what they said? Gu Ming Ming tilted her head. Actually, she wanted to ask too. Even she had tried to persuade Sandy not to force herself to marry a wolf beast, but Bode and Colin did not say a single word. This was very strange. If Gu Ming Ming did not know how Bode and Colin felt towards Sandy, she would have suspected that they did not love Sandy. Leah said they said that Sandy is a female. Gu Ming Ming asked, and then? Leah shook his head and said, there are only these 5 words, Sandy is female. Gu Ming Ming's face was filled with question marks, as if she could not keep up with the rhythm. Leah sighed and said, the female is the head of the household. No matter what she wants to do, the male should not interfere and can only obey. Not only did Elvis and I question your decision, we even criticized you. Even with Colin's mark on Sandy's heart, he did not dare to criticize Sandy, afraid that he would lose her favor. As for me, Lee's gaze landed on Gu Ming Ming's ears. Then he laughed and said, how gutsy must I be to dare to scare you, threaten you, force you to do things you don't like without any scruples, and even watch as you turn around to coax me as if it was a matter of course. Being spoiled and arrogant is a very dangerous thing. When you like me, you'll naturally do whatever I say. But if one day you're annoyed by me, then tell me, what am I? Gu Ming Ming finally understood. These two suddenly felt a sense of crisis because of Sandy's mating. Chapter 1401. I like how the two of you protect me, control me, consider everything for me, and make the most beneficial decision for me. Gu Ming Ming hugged Lee's neck and looked straight in his eyes. She smiled. Other people are other people, and we are us. I don't like the idea of men being superior to women, and I don't like the idea of women being superior to men. We are husband and wife and have the same status in the family. We have the same right to speak. So if I can be jealous of Miranda and forbid her from getting close to you, why can't you be jealous of other males getting close to me? As for the threats, you're too serious. Even if you say something to scare me sometimes, it's just talk. You've never really done anything to hurt me, right? That's why those threats have no effect on me at all. They can't make me afraid. I'll give in, not because I'm afraid of your threats, but because I know that since you've threatened me, it means that you don't like it. I don't want to make you unhappy, so I'm pretending to be threatened by you. At my place, this is called flirting. It's a form of fun. How did it become a heinous crime that cannot be forgiven by the heavens? Really? Leah didn't seem to believe her. He added on, the males at your place will also threaten females? Gu Ming Ming nodded with a smile. Yeah, they will often say things like, if you dare to give your number to any guy who flirts with you, I will break his leg, or if you dare to leave me, I will kill you. It's very common. Leah frowned. He hugged Gu Mingming tightly. I won't break your leg or kill you. I can't bear to do it. Gu Mingming smiled and kissed the side of Li's face. Of course I know you can't bear to do it. The two of you thought I was going to die when I had a nosebleed. You were so nervous. How could you domestic abuse me? The guy who said those words would not really break the girl's legs, nor would he really kill her. They were just using a more violent way to tell the girl that they really mind her giving her number to strangers. They really don't want to hear her break up. Usually, the girl just needs to act cute and say, I know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Then everything will be fine. Who would abandon their partner because of such words? Leah hugged Gu Mingming tightly in his arms and said in a deep voice, Mingming, I was abandoned by you before, so I know how painful that feeling is. How happy I am with you. How painful it is to leave you. After mating, I'm more than 100 times happier than when I was in a light relationship with you. So, if one day you're tired of me, Mingming, I won't be able to withstand your second abandonment. I really won't be able to endure it. Gu Mingming hugged Leah back gently and said, What silly things are you saying? I won't abandon you. Even though you and Elvis always call me a liar, at least I won't go back on my word on this matter. Leah nodded. As long as you don't regret this, everything else doesn't matter. Good for nothing. Gu Mingming smiled and shook her head. Then, she pushed Leah away, creating a distance between them. She tilted her head and asked, Is it okay now? Let's not be pretentious, okay? We're still at Sandy's house right now, and the owner of the house can't even go back because of us. Chapter 1402. After comforting Leah, Gu Mingming turned to look at Elvis and asked, Hubby, do you also think that I will abandon you? Elvis struggled internally, but he still nodded his head in the end. After Sandy mated, I gathered all the first partners in the wolf tribe. After asking around, I realized that there was indeed no one like me who would stop a female from taking on a new partner. It was also the first time that a family did not have a new member for 4 years. I came from the stray beasts and am naturally more selfish than others. Moreover, I have nothing, only you. Because you are everything, I am more afraid of losing. After seeing Leah panicking, Elvis was naturally affected and became uneasy. Today, Sandy had unintentionally said, Admit defeat or show off your might as a female. It was as if a lightning bolt had struck their hearts, breaking the tightest thread in their hearts. So, even outsiders could see that they had often forced Gu Mingming to admit defeat. Were they the only ones who did not know that they had already reached such a stage? Hence, the two of them exchanged glances and reminisced about the past. The more they thought about it, the more shocked they became. In the end, they even felt that it was reasonable for Gu Mingming to make the decision to abandon them now. Gu Mingming came out from Li's arms and held Elvis's face with both hands. She took the initiative to cover Elvis's lips, but did not go deep. After a long while, Gu Mingming finally moved her lips away and said with a smile, Hubby, did you forget something important? Huh? Elvis did not understand. Gu Mingming said, I originally did not belong here. When I came, I had nothing other than that set of bikinis. I was the one who truly had nothing. Wasn't it you who connected me to this world? Before I was around, you were already the leader of Saint Nazir. You and Leah were both famous warriors, and no one dared to be impudent in front of you. I still remember when I first arrived at Saint Nazir, you gave everyone a cold stare, and everyone was so scared that they did not dare to speak. At that time, I was thinking, I have to cling on to this thigh tightly, or else I will not be able to survive in the beast world. Gu Mingming changed her position and nestled herself into Elvis's arms. Her back pressed against his chest, and her head rested on his shoulder. She tilted her head to look at Elvis and said, After that, you really covered for me. When I used my power to bully others, you stood on my side without even asking if it was right or wrong. When I was upset because of Leah, I even said that I wanted to banish Nina, but you supported me unconditionally without even thinking about it. You always put me first and prioritized me in everything. Moreover, Ever since we became partners, these two legs of mine have almost never walked. No matter far or near, you always carry me. You've spoiled me to the point where I can't even take care of myself. If I were to leave you, I might not even be able to survive a day. Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and kissed his chin lightly with her lips. She smiled sweetly and said, "You have already fused into my life. You are my entire world. If I leave you, I won't have a place to live." Elvis hugged Gu Mingming tightly and nodded without saying a word. Chapter 1403. The beast deity had once said that once the 7 treasures were gathered, the doors of time and space would open. What if Gu Mingming wanted to leave them and go over to Snake's side? Perhaps it was because he had been so thoroughly defeated by Snake that even though he was the Wolf King now, he had no confidence when facing Snake. Snake's words so weak, when he carried Gu Mingming back, was like a knife stabbing into his heart, forcing him to fight again and again to become stronger. But even if he was strong enough to look down on the entire beast world, he did not have a single chance to win against Snake. If the 7 treasures were really gathered and he lost to Snake again, this was the real reason why he and Leah were uneasy. And he and Leah would not tell Gu Mingming all these. They could not say it and did not dare to say it, afraid that they would hear an answer they did not want to know. They were even more afraid that she would suddenly go back on her words after agreeing to stay. In this lifetime, this was probably the only thing he was afraid of, being cheated by her. Gu Mingming did not know what Elvis was thinking. She thought that Leah had already said everything. Now that he had explained everything, the two of them shouldn't let their imaginations run wild anymore. Thus, he felt relieved and said, "It's not good for us to overtake the host like this. Besides, I'm here to play with Sandy. If there's anything else, let's talk when we get home. All right?" Elvis and Leah nodded and did not say anything else. Elvis carried Gu Mingming out of the house and saw Sandy giggling with a profound expression. Waving his hands, he said, "All right, I know you can't control them at all. In the end, you still have to coax them. I'm already used to it and won't laugh at you, so don't be awkward." Gu Mingming felt even more awkward after hearing her words. She sat beside Sandy and pinched her, saying, "What's wrong with coaxing our own men? They already have so many things to deal with outside. If even I bully them, wouldn't their lives be too miserable?" Sandy pointed at Elvis and then at Leah, asking with a smile, "Them? Miserable? Ha ha! The only person in this world who can make them miserable is you. Aside from your intermittent spasms that force them to be helpless, I've never seen anyone else who can control them." Gu Mingming wrinkled her nose and smiled. Then, she used her chin to point at Arnold, who was looking at Sandy affectionately. "What about that? What are you going to do? I can't be a door god every day." Sandy sighed. "What else can we do? She didn't enter my territory, so my males don't have the right to expel her. She didn't confess to me, so I couldn't reject her. People can stand in the public area and watch the wind, rain, and sun. Why should I say that people are looking at me? And even if I really did see it, why wouldn't I let them see it? Sigh, there's nothing I can do." Gu Mingming held her chin and looked at Arnold, then back at Leah. Smiling, she said, "Although he's not as good as my husband, he still looks like a good guy. You really won't consider taking him in?" Sandy looked at Hodgson and whispered, "If I take him in, my family situation will be more lively than the entire Sauter. Just let me live for a few more days." Gu Mingming laughed and said, "Then if you don't want to, I'll think of a way to stop him from thinking about you." Chapter 1404. Gu Mingming shook her head and smiled. "I don't, but Leah definitely does. If you annoy him, I will ask Leah to reject him for you." Sandy turned to look at Leah, as if waiting for him to express his stance. Lee's gaze was fixed on Gu Mingming's face the entire time. He had not completely recovered from his low spirits. He was still worried in his heart, but he tried his best not to let Gu Mingming see it. So he chuckled and replied, "How can I not agree to anything Gu Mingming wants me to do?" Gu Mingming mumbled softly, "I said Mister has a nest of little foxes, but you didn't agree. Leah naturally heard it, and his heart warmed. She was still willing to bear children for him. This proved that she did not hate him. Smiling, Leah pinched Gu Mengming's little face gently. Are we going to the Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky during the dry season? I will accompany you to make foxes when I return. I will not stop until you get pregnant, all right? But Gu Mengming blushed. I still want to live for another 2 years. Not stopping until I get pregnant. That's too embarrassing. And Gu Mengming did not doubt that she would lose her life before she got pregnant. Just thinking about Li's piledriver's endurance made her kidneys ache. The beast world did not have any sense of shame about mating. Moreover, after Sandy gave birth and took in so many new partners, she was even more open-minded. She did not feel that there was anything wrong with Gu Mengming and Leah discussing having children in front of her. She just tugged at Gu Mengming's arm. Yeah, does the promise you made to me still count? What? Gu Mengming came to Sauter almost every day to talk to Sandy. It was normal for her to forget 1 or 2 things after making so many promises. Sandy glanced at Gu Mengming's stomach. If the little fox you give birth to is a daughter, can you choose one of my sons as your partner? It doesn't matter if it's not the first partner. I just have to take in one. Gu Mengming glanced at the 3 little ones who were practicing their fighting techniques with Bode. She smiled. I can't make the decision on this. You also know that we are particular about the freedom of love. She has to choose her own man. After all, that is her life. However, no matter if it's a boy or a girl, my door will always be open to your family. You're welcome to bring your son here often to cultivate your feelings. But whether it succeeds or not will depend on fate. That's all I need. Sandy smiled in satisfaction. As long as Gu Mengming did not object, this matter would be settled. After all, Sandy was still very confident in his own son. However, the 2 females didn't know that the conversation between their best friends was like a monstrous wave in the ears of the 7 wolves and Arnold. All right, are you going to the Moda Mountains during the dry season? Sandy asked. Gu Mengming nodded. This matter has already been decided. Gregory is staying in Sauter. When the time is right, he will bring me to the Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky. Without that thing, my Lord Fox wouldn't let me get pregnant. Sandy pouted her lips and said with an ugly expression, Can that birdman be trusted? Previously, he said that he didn't like you and kept looking for trouble with you. TSK, he wouldn't throw you down halfway, would he? Chapter 1405. Oh my God, why are you so daring? Sandy was so shocked that she jumped up, completely forgetting about Arnold. Her eyes reddened in an instant, and she glared at Gu Mengming as if she was about to cry. She complained, If anything happens to you, what do you want me to do in the future? I have 11 partners and 3 sons, but you're my only friend. Do you know how important you are to me? You actually dare to fall down without thinking. Gu Mengming, sobs, sobs, sobs. If anything happens to you, I will never forgive you. Sandy had not cried for a long time. Ever since Oakley had plotted the stray beast to attack Sauter and 5 of her partners had died that day, Sandy had never cried again. She grew up strong and quickly shouldered Gu Mengming's responsibilities as a mother, taking good care of Huda and Jiaoyu. If not for the fact that they did not have any wolf beasts in their family, everyone would have thought that Huda and Jiaoyu were Sandy's sons. And when she heard about Gu Mengming's reckless jumping off the cliff, her eyes reddened in an instant. Gu Mengming knew that Sandy would definitely turn hostile once she mentioned this matter. Other than Elvis and Leah, only Sandy would dare to scold her over this matter. Gu Mengming knew that she was in the wrong, and she had always been helpless when it came to Sandy's tears, so she could only carefully and obediently coax her. Good Sandy, don't cry. When you cry, even my heart will tremble. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I will never dare to do it again. Moreover, don't you see that I am standing in front of you in one piece? Not a single strand of hair is missing, really. Sandy wiped away her tears while sobbing. She tugged at Gu Mengming's arm and scrutinized her closely. She really wanted to count all her hair to see if she was missing a single strand. Seeing that she was indeed fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. But her heart still had lingering fears, and her tears only stopped flowing after a long while. Leah and Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's cowardly look in front of Sandy and lowered their heads to chuckle. Originally, they were already feeling troubled over the Modem Mountains incident, but they could not bring themselves to do so in front of Gu Mingming. Now that there was Sandy, this troublesome vixen, to teach Gu Mingming a lesson, the two of them were happy and at ease. However, Sandy's partners, especially the newly mated 7 wolves, were suffering. This was the first time they had seen Sandy cry. They immediately panicked. They wanted to go up and coax her, but the queen was sitting there, occupying the position, and they couldn't do anything. What's more, the Wolf King had an expression that said, "Whoever dares to come over will be crushed to death." They were really helpless. Bode patted Hodgson's shoulder and said, "Don't panic. At times like this, she has more ways than us." Hodgson smiled awkwardly. He remembered the first day after mating, when a row of new partners thanked the queen for not being male. Gu Mingming, tell me, will you still dare to be rash in the future? Sandy's nose was red as she asked Gu Mingming while sniffling. Gu Mingming hurriedly shook her head and held Sandy's chubby little hands with both hands. I won't dare to do it again. Aren't you afraid that your golden beans will drown me? Let me tell you, if anything happens to you, I won't live anymore. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Sandy threatened. Chapter 1406. As Gu Mingming spoke, she picked up the cup of water and deliberately shook her hands, spilling the water all over the place. How could Sandy not see through her act? Sniggering, he took the cup from Gu Mingming's hands and placed it at the side. I will let you off this time, but only this time. Gu Mingming snuggled into Sandy's arms and smiled sweetly. Once is enough. I won't dare to do such a stupid thing again. Sandy calmed herself down and said, since Gregory likes you, and he's strong and can fly, do you want to consider taking him as your partner? Gu Mingming was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She sat up immediately and shook her head furiously. No, I definitely won't. Sandy asked why. Didn't the 2 great Buddhas of your family agree? Your family hasn't taken in anyone for 4 years. You are such an outstanding female. You should contribute to the beast world and pass down your outstanding genes, right? Look at Hudda and his brothers. How outstanding are they? They're only 3 years old, and each of them is outstanding. You should give birth to more children. Gu Mingming held Sandy's shoulders with both hands. It's not a problem to give birth. Elvis and Leah promised me that I can give birth to as many children as I want after I get the love of the sky. But you have too few partners. Even half-orcs and crippled females have more than 2 partners. Sandy felt wronged for Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming really wanted to cry. She had spent so much effort to appease Elvis and Leah, but Sandy, her bad friend, had to rub salt into her wounds again. Shaking her head, Gu Mingming smiled bitterly and accepted her fate. In the blink of an eye, it had been 4 years since she came to the beast world. Sandy was the only one who could be considered her best friend. She had a good relationship with the 16 valued females, but they had a blind admiration for her, and it was hard for them to be on the same level. It was not easy to interact with them. Only Sandy was different. Just like just now, she could not find another person in the beast world who dared to point at her nose and scold her. Only Sandy would risk her entire family's lives for her and stand by her side without hesitation. Gu Mingming sighed, then replied seriously, I don't like Gregory. I don't have any feelings for him. There's no connection. Sandy glanced at Hodgson's group of 7, then smiled and said, feelings can be cultivated. When I made it with Hodgson and the others, I didn't like them either. I didn't have any feelings for them. But after getting along with them for a while, they treated me very well. They were considerate and gentle. They would think of everything for me first and consider everything for me. We get along very well. They're also my important family now. Like Bode and Colin, they are my beloved partners. I won't look down on them just because I didn't have feelings for them when I first mated, and they won't blame me for mating with them when I didn't have feelings for them. In the beast world, most families are like this. As long as the males are good enough, the females should give them chance. Chapter 1407. That's why I can't be nice to Gregory. Not at all. Gu Mingming knew all too well how lowly the males in the beast world were when it came to relationships. Even someone as arrogant as Snake liked her so much that he was willing to cut open his chest and dig out his gallbladder to relieve her of her pain, just because of her smile and cowardice. Even before he died, he still smiled and comforted her. Even after he died, he still said goodbye to her in the dream of the beast deity, because he was worried that she would be burdened. He went to another world to look for her. Even though he had died once because of her, he still loved and protected her with a heart full of joy. He did not bear any grudges because of her death and only treated her as the treasure in his heart. She was extremely afraid of this kind of crazy love because you would never be able to reciprocate it. Leah was able to pester her to such an extent because she liked Leah. She left some leeway in all her rejections and could not really be heartless. No matter how much she tried to hypnotize herself about the values of marriage and love, she still could not resist his deep love and his amorous eyes. So they were entangled, and after many twists and turns, they finally got together. She had no feelings for Gregory, so she could not let others misunderstand. She had to be heartless now so that he would have the chance to love someone else in the future. Sandy shrugged and said, "All right, if you don't like it, I won't force you. Anyway, these two in your family treat you very well. Even though they are a little domineering, they still love you dearly." Gu Mingming smiled and leaned on Sandy's shoulder, saying, "They are not domineering. You didn't see Snake. TSK, self-taught domineering persona. That is really. Woman, you are playing with fire, haha." Sandy burst into laughter at Gu Mingming's sudden words, which she suppressed her voice, and the two females became a mess. Hodgson and the rest looked at each other and could not help but look at Bode with admiration. That gaze seemed to be saying, "No wonder you are the first partner. You really understand, Sandy." Bode returned a slight smile, as if saying, "Well said, well said." It was only in the afternoon when Elvis and Leah carried Gu Mingming back to the stone castle, while Arnold was still standing outside the territory, his posture imposing. Gu Mingming could not help but admire him. He had been standing there for an entire morning, yet he could still maintain such a demeanor. Whenever she lifted her head to look at him, he would look like a poster. He really had perseverance. Leah followed Gu Mingming's gaze and looked at Arnold. He felt a little upset, but still asked, "You like him?" Gu Mingming was in a daze and did not catch on to Lee's joke. Leah said, "If you like it, he will definitely be willing. After all, mating with you is more effective than mating with Sandy." Gu Mingming shook her head and waved her hands. No. I'm not acting in strange stories from Chinese studio. Why would I need so many vixens? You alone are enough." Lee's expression brightened, and he nodded with a smile. After returning home, Leah made dinner. After Elvis fed Gu Mingming, Leah handed the cutlery to Orton to clean. He then took out the comb that Cole had given to Gregory previously. He asked Gu Mingming, "Do you still want this?" Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. Gu Mingming had long forgotten about the comb and was rather surprised to see Leah take it out. It's still here. I thought I had thrown it away long ago. I don't want it. What I want it for? You can deal with it as you see fit." Chapter 1408. Gu Mingming guessed that Leah had probably brought that comb to Cole, although she did not know what they talked about. But after that night, Arnold no longer stood at the border of Sandy's territory posing. Counting the days, little shit should be arriving soon. Gu Mingming was a little timid as she discussed with Elvis and Leah. Could they not tell little shit about the stupid things she did on Moda Mountains? Because once little shit knew that she had jumped off a cliff, he would explode on the spot. He had said many times that her life was exchanged with snakes, and she had to cherish it. But no matter how many times she said it, Elvis and Leah did not believe that she had jumped off the cliff because she was sure that Gregory would catch her. It was just a threat and not a suicide attempt. They had already used Sandy's mouth to scold her once. Should they not complain to little shit again? If the whole world knew that she had attempted to commit suicide, Elvis and Leah nodded in agreement, indicating that they would not bring up this matter again. But no matter how much Gu Mingming planned, She forgot about Sandy. At the entrance of Sodder, little shit met Sandy's family, who was being carried by Colin to the forest to watch Bode lead Joseph and his brothers in actual combat training. Originally, Wabi-Eye did not have any feelings for Sandy. After all, he was a snake beast and was naturally cold-blooded. It was one thing for him to like Gu Meng Meng, but he would not like everyone related to her just because he liked her. But when Sandy saw Wabi-Eye, she took the initiative to greet him, and Wabi-Eye did not ignore her. He still had to give Gu Meng Meng some face. But this greeting was troublesome. Sandy told Wabi-Eye everything about Gu Meng Meng jumping off the cliff on Moda Mountains. As expected, Wabi-Eye was infuriated on the spot. He flew straight into Sodder, and without a second word, he went up to the roof of the stone castle and directly attacked Gregory. Gregory had lived on Moda Mountains for many years and was naturally sensitive to danger. So when Wabi-Eye charged in with a strong, murderous intent, before Gregory could react, he had already spread his wings and flew high into the sky. But Wabi-Eye was after all 2 levels higher than him. So even though Gregory managed to avoid being hit in his vital organs, his ankle was still hooked by Wabi-Eye's venomous fangs. After flying for a short while, he fell straight down in front of Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng stared blankly at this scene, not knowing how to react. How should she put it? When little shit came in, she wanted to greet him, but before she could even smile and wave, Wabi-Eye had already bitten Gregory. Everything happened too quickly, and Gu Meng Meng was a little overwhelmed. Little shit. Gu Meng Meng did not manage to stop the first move in time, but she saw Wabi-Eye's eyes turning red, as if he would not stop until he had skinned Gregory alive. Gu Meng Meng could only stand in front of Gregory and hug him. Calm down, calm down. What's wrong with you? Did he offend you? Wabi-Eye's eyes narrowed into slits as he stared at Gu Meng Meng with a sinister expression. He said her name word by word, as if he was a messenger from hell demanding for her life. Gu Meng Meng. What? Gu Meng Meng looked at Wabi-Eye in shock. She had known him for almost 3 years, right? She had never seen him so angry before. Even though he could not defeat her, Gu Meng Meng still smiled timidly. Little shit. Why are you calling me by my full name like a gangster demanding a debt? What's wrong with you? Aside from the topic. Chapter 1409. You have guts. Wabi-Eye was infuriated, and his entire body was emitting black smoke. He really wanted to kill Gregory, but Gu Meng Meng clearly wanted to protect him. He wanted to give Gu Meng Meng a good beating, but even though he knew he was no match for her, he couldn't do anything to her slender arms and legs. He spun around on the spot, and his gaze landed on Elvis. Little wolf pup, come out and fight. Wasn't Elvis also suppressing a bellyful of frustration? Being singled out, he chuckled. I'll be happy to keep you company. With that, Elvis and Wabi-Eye left together. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed. The last time these 2 rascals were like this was when Wabi-Eye was scolding Elvis before they went to the Mecha Desert. Now, they were doing it again. Although she was stunned when she saw Wabi-Eye attack Gregory, now that she thought about it again, how could she not understand? He probably knew about her jumping off the cliff on the Moda Mountains and couldn't bear to blame her. So he pushed all the blame to Gregory? Sigh. Her momentary recklessness had caused someone else to pay the bill. Gu Meng Meng felt guilty. Let him take a look. Don't let little shit really poison him to death. Gu Meng Meng shook her head in exasperation. She wanted to help Gregory up, but hesitated and took a step back, handing Gregory over to Leah. Leah was pleased by Gu Meng Meng's action of avoiding suspicion. Although he had allowed Gregory to like Gu Meng Meng, it didn't mean he was willing for Gu Meng Meng's family to have another male. Moreover, one whose looks could threaten his and could fly, Leah helped Gregory up, but didn't bring him into the stone castle. Instead, he placed him at the edge of the outer wall and let him lie down. Then, he checked his ankle. A large chunk of his flesh had been scraped off by Wabi-Eye's teeth, revealing his white bones. The surrounding flesh had turned black, and a blackness spread along his ankle like a spider web. Leah clicked his tongue. This Wabi-Eye must be really furious, right? This poison is too ruthless. Is there no hope? Gu Mingming was a little worried. It was not a big deal for a few males to die in the beast world, but Gu Mingming still felt uncomfortable that she had died so mysteriously. Leah was unwilling to let Gu Mingming take the blame for another person's death. Snake was already on her mind. He would not let another Gregory become the person in her nightmares. Hence, he sighed and said, "Count himself lucky. I happen to have a medicine that can cure this poison." Gu Mingming's heart sank. With that, Leah returned to the house and brought out a small bee skin bag. Opening it, there were 2 pieces of snake scales inside. He scraped the snake scales with his fingernails and smeared the powder on Gregory's wound. After a short while, the black color that spread like a spider's web gradually faded away. Then the black color on the wound gradually faded away as well. The poison was neutralized, but the rotten flesh could not be recovered. Leah could only use his fingernails to cut off the rotten flesh. He only stopped when fresh blood flowed out. Gu Mingming watched the entire process and felt a little guilty. She shook her head helplessly and said, "This little shit is too rash. He didn't say anything and just came up to hit me." Leah tilted his head and looked at Gu Mingming. After a long while, he asked, "Your heart aches? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.